I hope you're having a great day. Well, yesterday we spoke about, day before we spoke about what signs our body gives us when we're protein deficient. Today we're going to talk about the food sources that are rich in protein. Now, one of the most common mistakes that most people make, they Google all the proteins, and any high protein food you start stuffing yourself without even understanding how much of protein your body may actually need. So when you're breaking down your muscle through your workouts, through your gym, through your exercise, through running, your body will need more protein. We need to understand that when there are minor tears in your muscle, the muscle will now feed on the protein that you feed it, and that's how your muscles grow. It's as simple as that. But a lot of people, they just do simple yoga, they do simple exercises, and they start taking protein shakes, and that protein is not utilized by the muscle, and it gets converted eventually into unused energy, which is fat in the human body. When it comes to protein, it's really simple. It's not about adding more and more protein to get healthier. We've established that connection already, that excess protein doesn't mean more muscle, excess protein doesn't mean more weight loss, and excess protein doesn't mean that you'll be more toned and you'll be more lean. Now, when it comes to bodybuilders, when it comes to athletes, their protein is completely different from what we require for ourselves. So we shouldn't confuse and compare ourselves with people across. When we look at the non-vegetarian sources of protein, of course, we all know that non-vegetarian sources of protein gives you a lot of protein easily. So you look at chicken, you look at lean turkey, you look at your egg, which is a complete protein. You look at fish like salmon, most of your white fish, and these are the most sources, mostly animal meat, including beef, which we don't get in our country, but whichever country you're looking at, you want to look at the quality of non-vegetarian protein that you look at. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether non-vegetarian is better than vegetarian or vegetarian is better than non-vegetarian. All I'm trying to say is that we have people who come to us who are vegetarian and non-vegetarian. And in my career, I'm yet to see that a vegetarian is healthier than a non-vegetarian, or a non-vegetarian is more muscular and bigger than a vegetarian. It's not about who chooses what, it's about how your body breaks it down. You have a lot of vegetarians who have deficiencies. You also have a lot of non-vegetarians who have deficiencies. The simple myth is about B12, that you do not find enough of B12 in plant sources. But what we see is our B12 deficiency patients are both equally vegetarian and non-vegetarian. So we need to stop believing all of those myths. And if you choose to have non-vegetarian food, you go ahead and have non-vegetarian food. Remember, it is about the quality of meat that you take. Most chickens today are pumped with antibiotics and hormones to make the breast bigger, because that's the juiciest part of the chicken, and that's what's sold by weight. Most animals are pumped with hormones to keep them from falling sick, and antibiotics to keep them from falling sick. So when you consume all of this, even fish, don't get fooled with fish. All the salmon that you get in the market, all the farmed fish means they are being fed antibiotics. Because in a fish farm, you need to breed many fish together, and these fish keep falling sick and dying, which isn't good for profits. So they put pellets, antibiotic pellets, so that the fish can consume them and they don't fall sick as well. So I'm saying this just to warn you, vegetarians don't jump for joy because you have chemicals and pesticides and everything else. So what I'm trying to show you is that when you're making a decision, if you're non-vegetarian, you want to select meats which are grass-fed, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and all of these things if you want to make sure that your health is going to stay good. So those are the simple sources. When it comes to the egg is a complete protein. I still don't understand why people separate the yolk and the white. For those 3 extra grams of protein and missing out on the fat, you need to understand you can't separate nature. Of course, if you're going to have like an egg white omelet with 5 or 6 egg whites, make sure that you have at least 1 or 2 of the yolks in it, because most of the magic is in the yolk. The white is only giving you 3 grams of protein, but the phosphorus, the iron, the D3, everything else. Egg is a complete protein, which means it has all the amino acids. You separate the white from the yolk, it is not a complete protein for you anymore. So if you're doing it, do it the right way. Now, what you need to understand that when it comes to protein, okay, you need to ensure that every meal or every snack that you have has some amount of protein. If the snack that you have or the meal that you have is only carbohydrates or fat and all of that stuff, it's not enough for you. Your body needs a constant supply of protein at every meal that you eat. So even if you give your body minimal amounts of protein, your body will utilize it completely. Rather than giving your body too much of protein when you've not exercised that much or broken down enough of muscle, it's absolutely useless. So if you're looking at just a lean body, losing weight, staying fit and healthy and stuff like that, having a little bit of protein at every meal is going to be more than enough for you. And of course, your pre-workout and your post-workout protein will have to be calculated and advised to you based on the kind of workouts that you're doing. Now, coming to vegetarian proteins, most vegetarians think that they don't get enough of sources of protein. But today, even a Jain vegetarian can build enough of protein in their system. The actual requirement for any normal body is anywhere between 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per kilo of your body weight. So if you weigh 50 kilos, you need roughly between 47 to 50 grams of protein in your diet, which even a vegetarian Jain meal will give you. It's how you do it. If you're trying to follow fad diets that deprive you of certain, macronutrients in your diets or certain foods, you will obviously be deficient in protein. But you need to think back. Think of the farmers. The farmers don't have access to protein shakes. The farmers don't have access to any of the supplements that we do. They work hard, they eat, they have muscular, lean bodies. Most of them. I'm not talking about the ones who are struggling under poverty. You look at a laborer, you look at a farmer, just think about what they're eating. They're eating normal rice, dal, khichdi, roti, vegetable, whatever's available. Some of them have milk, some of them don't. But yet they build lean bodies. You look at the women, not an ounce of fat on their bodies, great postures and all of that stuff. So we got to look and learn, but we can't blame ourselves because we're constantly deceived with the marketing of more protein and products that have more protein and stuff like that. The simple common sense approach will be to look at these people. We have an Indian runner who won the 400 meters and all she ate was rice and dal. She represented India and she would run in the fields and train outdoor and eat rice and dal 3 to 4 times a day. And then when she started getting a little more money, she started adding milk to her diet. So it's simplicity when it comes to some of the leanest bodies. Of course, what I'm telling you is not going to work if you're trying to become a bodybuilder or really buff and all of that stuff. This advice is for all the laymen out there. Coming back to vegetarian sources of protein, you will find them in beans. You will find them in your chana. You will find them in your moong dals and your rajma and all of these things. The next problem is since most Indians are sedentary and acidic, they can't eat these beans because they get more and more bloated. So fix your gut so that you're able to eat legumes and beans because that's a high source of protein for you. Comes to your lentils, you look at moong dal. It's a green dal, high in protein, very easy for the human body to digest. That can be in the form of your vegetables and your khichdi's, in a moong dal chela, a moong dal pancake. All of these options exist. You have tofu, you have edamame, you have nuts. A lot of people are afraid of nuts. They think, oh, nuts will make me fat. Nuts do have fat, essential fatty acids, but they also have good quality protein. So when you eat almonds, you eat pistachios, you eat walnuts, they do have a great amount of protein in them. So a normal snack could be chana, it could be nuts, and you're getting a decent amount of protein for your normal lean body and to start losing weight. Then when you look at dairy, you look at paneer, you look at milk, you look at cheese. But again, with dairy, unless you're vegan, for everyone else, you got to be careful of adulteration in dairy because most of the milk, which is highly pasteurized, homogenized, most of the adulterated milk where the animals are fed with basically soy and feed which is wrong for them, and they're pumped with antibiotics and hormones, things like estrogen, so that the cow can produce more and more milk. All of that is going into your system and harming you, which is why we stop most patients with disease and deadly diseases and people who want to prevent them from dairy completely. But now a lot of people have their own cows. They breed their own cows in their farmlands. They treat them the right way. They don't give them antibiotics. They feed them grass. That quality of milk, we need to understand milk is a class A protein. When it is consumed raw and unpasteurized, which means it's raw, the cow is milked, it's heated to kill any bacteria and consumed within 30 minutes, that is great class A protein. You make that into curds, you make that into yogurt, chas, lassis. Great quality milk is a great quality protein for people who consume it. For people who do not, like vegans, who respect animals and all of that stuff and don't do that, it's completely up to them. But milk is a great source of protein as well. You have something called sattu. We've spoken about sattu a long time ago. This is basically a roasted Bengal gram, and certain legumes are roasted, and it has a high quantity of protein. There are laborers in certain cities like Calcutta and Bihar who are pulling heavy carts in the sun throughout the day, and in between the day they're just sipping on glasses of sattu. It gives them protein, they have well-defined bodies. So now when you buy a packet of sattu and you look at the nutrition label, you say, it gives me just 6 grams of protein, it's useless for me. It's not about the quantity of protein, it's about the quality of protein and how much your body needs. We all know about khichdi. People think khichdi is carbs and it's going to make them fat. Currently, we have hundreds of people who are losing weight by eating khichdi, either at dinner or either at lunch, busting the myth that rice will make you fat. Yes, rice will make you fat if you eat it alone, but rice combined with your lentils becomes a complete protein. Rice mixed with rajma, which is your kidney beans, becomes a complete protein for you. Curd rice as well. The combination of curd and rice in South India is a high protein food for you. Now, don't judge me against high protein by comparing it to a whey protein shake which is artificially made. Of course, that's not a logical comparison. I'm talking about wholesome foods that can give you quality protein. You look at spinach, you look at your green leafy vegetables, you look at broccoli, and all of these things. If you look at kale that grows naturally in other countries, these are rich sources of high quality protein that your body can use to keep you lean. Then you look at oats, you look at sattu, you look at, basically all of these foods together. Now, everything I spoke about, whether you're vegetarian or non-vegetarian, if you are eating a balanced meal, you are getting sufficient protein for your body and system. You train harder, you need more protein. So you either increase your protein through these foods. Some people prefer to take a whey protein or a shake, which isn't really bad unless you get the right quality of it and not the ones which are mixed, adulterated, and mixed with creatine and all of these supplements and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with taking a good whey, but first you would like to try to get most of your protein from your natural list of high protein foods, which is available to all of us right now. So we first need to break this mindset that more protein means more muscle. Some of the people with the best bodies will tell you that's not true. They'll tell you that yes, we need protein, but we don't need to overdo it, because the moment you overdo your protein and it's not used, that will convert into body fat in your system at some point. So that's exactly what it is when it comes to protein. Please keep it simple. It is unnecessary to stuff yourself with protein. If you have 3 or 4 balanced meals in a day and you make sure that you're getting protein at all of these meals, it's sufficient. If you're intermittent fasting or dry fasting, remember you're missing some amount of calories in your fasting phase, which means in your building phase, you need to make sure that you are eating a lot more protein so that you don't now start having a protein deficiency, and fasting doesn't make you lose weight, the good weight as well as the bad weight, which is muscle. You shouldn't be losing muscle. If you lose muscle, your fat percentage is going to increase. And that's exactly how simple it is when it comes to protein. Until next time, have a good day, everyone. Eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.